And we're live. Welcome to the Sports Sesh podcast. I'm your host, Mason Shatwell, and my co-host is James Evans. Before we get on to the talking points today, how are you doing, James?
I've had better mornings, to be honest with you, but other than that, I'm all good. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well, apart from obviously what's been going on in the football world. I'll just give everyone a rundown on the agenda. We're going to talk about everything: Jake Paul, Ben Askren, UFC 261 main card preview, and something that's going to have some very strong opinions from myself and James, this new European Super League where both of our clubs are now joining it, which opinions shall be shared later on, but nonetheless, let's get straight into it. Jake Paul, Ben Askren at the weekend. Before I say anything, what were your thoughts on it?
Coming into the way, I didn't watch the fight. I saw the fight replay because I just refused to pay like 20 quid for the Thriller Fight Club or whatever it's called. I saw Ben Askren at the weigh-ins. I just thought he's probably got one of the biggest beer bellies known to man. I was just laughing. He wasn't taking it seriously, and I think the purse before the fight, he was on and around $500,000, and I think after the fight, he's definitely going to sort of secure over $1 million, which is probably going to be the biggest payday he's ever had in his career. So. And I think, although it was a bit of a touch and go with regards to the stoppage from the referee, I mean, he came up afterwards, he got off, he picked himself up and just started laughing with his family just because he knew he secured a big payday. And it was so rigged, in my opinion. Like that's just my opinion. It was so scripted for Jake Paul to win early and then for Ben Askren to sort of laugh it all off and get the big payday and what have you. But I've just got no thoughts on it whatsoever. Like Jake Paul, again, he has not beaten a professional boxer or an amateur boxer yet. You know, he came up against a YouTuber. The first fight against, I think it was Nissan Gibb or something like that. Second fight was an NBA reject against Nate Robinson. And the third was arguably against one of the worst strikers in the history of the UFC. He was a wrestler. And obviously he knocked them all out within a round or two. And I know he's 3-0, and it looks like he's taking it seriously. That the boxing side, he's training his ass off. But there's just you stick him in the ring with an amateur cruiserweight, and he would get torn to pieces. Jake Paul, he would get torn to pieces by a natural cruiserweight because Ben Askren is a welterweight. He moved up like 20, 25, 30 pounds for that fight. So if he fights the big boys in his actual natural weight class, he's going to get battered because I know there's talks of Tyson Fury's younger brother like wanting to fight Jake Paul after this, and it looks like it might happen because they're both like 3-0. Well, I think Tommy Fury's 4-0, so they're both. So they're both sort of working their way up the ranks. But again, if that fight were to happen, honestly, Tommy Fury would literally destroy the living daylights out of Jake Paul.
Yeah, I didn't stay up for the actual event because
Circus, honestly.
The fight I was most looking forward to was just seeing Frank Mir back in there, and even then I didn't think I knew he would have done all right, but I didn't think he was going to win against a guy that is only, I believe, 1 in 3 people to ever drop the Fury in Cunningham. But apart from that, I wasn't too excited about it because apart from Steve Cunningham, Frank Mir, Askren, and Paul, I don't think I'd heard of much of the other people on the card, but it was more of a concert than a fight card. You have Justin Bieber singing, you have God knows who else, and then I remember seeing all these clips. You have the TikTokers in the ring giving the belt out. They almost gave the belt to Frank Mir after he lost. That shambles, man. I remember seeing it and I thought, no disrespect to the girls, but what are they doing in a boxing ring handing out a belt? They almost giving it to the guy that lost the fight. But onto the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight, that it just seems so rigged.
Yeah.
Just because Ben Askren, as much as he's I don't understand disrespect, he's a shite striker. But he took them shots off Robbie Lawler with 4-ounce gloves, and then he gets dropped like that off 10-ounce gloves of Jake Paul. Jake Paul does not have the power that Robbie Lawler possesses, and especially when Robbie Lawler's got gloves 6 ounces smaller than Jake. I don't care what anyone says. There's no way. Just because, obviously, How can someone take shots like that off a very powerful striker, probably up there in the top 10 in welterweight history in Robbie Lawler, but then get knocked out by Jake Paul? I'm not disregarding the fact that Jake Paul may be a good boxer. He may be, but we've not seen it tested. Like you was mentioning, Tommy Fury. I think that's the fight to make. Obviously, Dylan Dennis as well is like one of them. But he's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
He's a jiu-jitsu guy. Why are you going to go fight someone that's known for being on the ground? Fight someone that wants to punch you, your head in. Trying to keep it PG there, but Jake Paul, I do want to see him fight just because it's getting a lot more eyes to the sport of boxing, and that's probably one of the main positives from it. But how can you go about calling everyone out? He's calling McGregor and Diaz out, but let's be realistic. He's not going to get them fights. No. Tyron Woodley, before the fight was in there, and I'm sure he called Jake Paul out. Paul was like, or if you're so confident, bet however much on Ben. He was only doing that because he knew it was rigged, in my opinion. But I say throw him in there with Tyron Woodley if he's not going to beat Tommy Fury, because there's no way Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury. I'm probably going to look at it if he does, but there's no way Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury, just because. Look at the line of fighters that Tommy Fury comes from. Hughie Fury, one of the best boxers we've seen in our generation. Tyson Fury. Tommy Fury is a boxer. He's got the background. Yeah, his record may not be as star-studded as you'd like with proven athletes, but he is a boxer. Yeah, Jake Paul is 3-0, but I'm trying to think of how to say it without disrespecting. I've probably disrespected him already, but Jake Paul's not a boxer yet. And the most important thing where I say that is, he could become a good boxer. He's not going to become world champion status by a long shot, but he could be a contender if he fought the guys. If he's as good as he says he is, he should be able to fight the likes of Tommy Fury. Hell, if he wants to keep fighting MMA guys, he should be able to fight the likes of Tyron Woodley. But I remember quite a few years ago when it was all that YouTube drama, when it was the KSI fight that Jake Paul really wanted, he was calling for an MMA fight. Why doesn't Jake Paul step in the MMA cage and fight an MMA fighter? I seen Corey Garbrandt call him out. Yeah, Jake's got about 50 pounds in him, but Corey, he said he'd give it up, but I don't know with Jake Paul. I think he's all talk at the minute, just because I don't think he wants to fight a proven athlete. If he steps in there with someone like Tommy Fury, wins, fair play. If he loses, fair play. I will give him credit for stepping in there against a proven striker. But as of yet, how can you say he had one amateur fight against someone that's never boxed before, as in KSI's brother Deji? You then fought Anison Gibb, like you mentioned. I'm sure he had a couple of amateurs, but weren't fighters. You've then stepped up, not even stepped up a level, because I'd argue that Anison Gibb would have been a harder challenge than Nate Robinson, just because Gibb had fights before. Nate Robinson, I seen an interview leading up to the Askren fight. Nate Robinson, when you seen him get the first jab, you could see the look of surprise in his face. But obviously, he stepped up in terms of athletes against Nate Robinson, fair play. Then he fought a fight like a proven fighter, but he fought a wrestler, like you mentioned. It's not. Oh my days, man! I'm just ranting there about Jake Paul, but he fought a wrestler. Step up, fight Tyron Woodley, fight Tommy Fury. Just don't fight Dylan Dennis next. If you was going to fight Dylan Dennis, you would have done it instead of Ben Askren. What's the point of going from Ben Askren to Dylan Dennis? No disrespect to either guys, but they're going to be more or less the same fight in the boxing ring. Dylan Dennis is a jiu-jitsu, Ben Askren is a wrestler. Step up, fight a striker. That's my message to Jake Paul. Fight a striker, man.
It's just ridiculous. Honestly, I will not be watching. I refuse to watch any sort of Jake Paul fights going forward, because it's just a circus over in that sort of promotion side. Like, I don't know if you saw the commentary as well with Snoop Dogg. It honestly made me cringe, and I just sort of muted it for the rest of the clip. I just can't take it anymore with Jake Paul. He's just a big talker, and if he can walk the walk as well, then fair play. You know, if he can walk the walk and prove that, then fight Tommy Fury. Tyron Woodley, Again, he was always a big welterweight, in my opinion. You look at the size of him; that's huge for that division.
He probably was around 190.
Yeah, yeah. On come fight night, he probably is like 190, 195 or something like that.
Even Jake Paul's bigger than Tyron anyway, because I've seen an interview of Jake saying he walks around 205, sometimes even 210. So he's going to have the weight on Woodley anyway.
Yeah, and I know Woodley's got a strong wrestling background, but he's got a hard. He can throw a lot of hard haymakers, and if he connects against Jake Paul, you never know, he could drop him and sort of put him away. I think it's like you said, it's either Tyron Woodley or Tommy Fury next.
100%, yeah. Like you mentioned, the commentary, I refuse to stay up till 4 a.m. for that.
No,
I refuse to stay up for that show. I ended up watching Robert Whittaker and Gastelum the next morning.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't really want to see, while I'm watching the Gastelum fight and the Whittaker fight, all the backlash unload. I refused to wanted to see that. But the commentary, oh my. I watched the knockout when I first woken up. All right, I thought, shit, MMA communities took a bit of a low blow there. But
yeah,
he fought the worst of the worst. No disrespect to Ben in terms of striking. But that commentary, man, I remember, they went in for a clinch and then one of the commentators started going on about him kissing or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell? These guys, no disrespect to Snoop Dogg and whoever else was commentating, these guys have no business being in there commentating. Like I was talking about the TikTok girls before handing out the belts after the fight. These guys have no place being anywhere near the fight game, commentary or not. They've just got no place for it. And
it's just to sell more pay-per-views.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of fans online. I'm guessing they must have been these little Jake Paul fans, but they was talking about they want to see the commentary on Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. I tell you now, if that is the commentary we see from Sky Sports or BT Sports come Anthony Joshua and that fight's going on mute.
Yeah, there's no way Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren will allow that. No way.
No. But we've rambled on about.
Yeah.
We've got Jake Paul for 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
While we spoke about AJ Fury, then I'm not going to ask you how you see it going because we'll probably do a preview show on it. But
yeah,
what are your thoughts on the fight? How do you think we're going to see that this year?
Oh yeah, 100%. I genuinely believe we'll see it within the next 3 months. I think we will see it in July, which has been talked about. I know for a fact that Tyson Fury is training already. He's in Vegas, I believe, training over there with the guys in Vegas. I'm sure Anthony Joshua is training as well. And Tyson Fury looks very quick on his feet from what I've seen in training. And I'm sure Anthony Joshua is just the same old Anthony Joshua. So both men, it looks like they're getting ready for the fight soon. I truly believe, like I said, we'll see it in the summer. But it's going to be a cracking fight. The venue's to be confirmed. God knows where yet. If it's in July, obviously the restrictions will be lifted on June the 20th or June the 21st in England. So they can definitely get it done. They can definitely sell out a packed out Wembley Arena.
When are the Euros finishing?
July 10th. That's the final.
Right. I've seen a few days from but I think I've seen on Sky Sports July 24th is the date that they're going for. So yeah, Euros finish July 10th.
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah,
because the final's at Wembley for the Euros.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I didn't know when the Euros actually finished, but yeah, July 10th Euros finished. July 24th, AJ Fury. Why not chuck it at Wembley? It'll be the biggest fight we've ever seen in British history.
100%. It's probably going to be one of the biggest fights in boxing history, in heavyweight history.
I'm sure AJ and Klitschko sold out Wembley, didn't they?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
or near enough.
AJ Fury will definitely sell it out.
Yeah, like you said, it will sell out because it's the biggest fight in heavyweight history, and it has to be done in England because it's two British fighters going head to head for the undisputed heavyweight titles. It would be a madness if they were to host it elsewhere because the British fan base are arguably one of the best fan base in the combat sport, not only in combat sports but in sporting history, in sports in total. You look at the fights over in America, and I mean, my word, the atmosphere is just it's far from electric. It's just an absolute shambles. And every time there's a big event in England, the whole country would get together and watch it and provide a good atmosphere, and it therefore adds to the entertainment factor of it.
Yeah, 100%.
It has to be done at Wembley.
Yeah, the only place I could see it maybe happening apart from Wembley is either Abu Dhabi, Dubai, or Saudi Arabia. And the only reason I say they could do it there is if they can't get Wembley. Say if something goes wrong with COVID restrictions, fingers crossed, don't get extended. But if they do, if that was the case, I'd be more than happy to see it in Saudi, only if they can't get it in the UK. I just don't want it in the States, man. No disrespect to the guys, but 2 British fighters, the biggest fight in history. I'll watch it. Definitely watch it, but it'll just be such a letdown if it's in the States, if it could have been at Wembley. But I think they want it at Wembley, both fights as well, because it's apparently a 2-fight deal.
Oh yeah, it's it's going to be a 2-fight deal. But I know Tyson Fury came out recently and said, "I'm not British. I'm not an English fighter anymore. I'm not fighting America." And I know Vegas is the fight capital of the world, but for a fight like this, you've just got to do it in England.
Oh yeah, and if it came to it and both guys was one apiece, they'd 100% have the trilogy. And imagine all 3 fights at Wembley. That'd just give a lot more people the chance to actually see the fight as well.
Yeah, I mean,
potentially 270,000 to see it potentially, but
no, I mean, I'd be down. Say if it was a 2-fight deal, have one at Wembley and one at Old Trafford, because obviously Anthony Joshua, London, and Tyson Fury is Manchester born, or in and around that region.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd be trying to get to the Wembley one, but I'd definitely be at Old Trafford. But right, let's get on to the UFC. UFC 261 this weekend. I've not seen that many people slag off the card, but I've seen a lot of people underestimate the women's fights on the card. We'll get onto that, but damn, these women's fights are looking to be some really good fights. But first fight on the main card, Jimmy Crute, Anthony Smith. This is probably, apart from, I know I've just said that the women's fights are going to be great fights, but apart from the Masvidal Usman fight, I think this is what I'm most excited for, to be honest. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Crute. I love what he's been doing, obviously. He had the great win against Modestas Bukauskas in October, I believe. He was set to fight Johnny Walker, I believe, at 260, but Walker had to pull out. And now he's got Anthony Smith. I believe a really dominant win against Anthony Smith will put him in the title picture, obviously. Before I go on about my prediction for this fight, I was saying a few times, with the UFC light heavyweight title, this is what I believe they should do. Obviously, they're looking at Glover Yan in September. And then there's Reyes and Prochazka in a week Saturday, I believe. I say the winner of Reyes and Prochazka fights Alexander Rakic on the same card as Yan and Glover. The winner of each fight each other. But if Jimmy Crute can have a really good performance and then win a fight after that, he may be next in line for the title. Depending who he fights and how he wins. But I'm going to hear your thoughts before I give my prediction. What do you think of the Jimmy Crute fight, James?
With the Modestas Bukauskas performance, that was just a sensational knockout victory. I was thoroughly impressed with Jimmy Crute. I think if Jimmy Crute gets the job done, I think he still needs at least two more fights before being in contention for the title, let alone obviously having the title shot after a win over Anthony Smith. I think he's got to be very impressive. If he gets a comfortable decision, obviously with Dana White, that won't do, because you look at Cyril Gane when he won against Rosenstruik by decision, I believe it was, and he came out after the press conference and said, look, Cyril Gane does not deserve these top guys yet after that performance. So I think Jimmy Crute has to have a finish against Anthony Smith, because a win over Anthony Smith via a stoppage will do bits for your career, because, you look at Anthony Smith, he's a tough guy. He's fought for the title already in John Jones. And, he's a big household name. I think with Jimmy Crute, it's been a long time coming. He's deserved this sort of high caliber opponent for a long time. He was destined to fight the big boys at light heavyweight. I know he lost a fight or two before his win over Bukauskas, but he took some time off. He got back into the gym, and he's looked better than ever. I was really impressed with that Bukowski's performance, and he's comfortable wherever the fight goes. So if he gets a finish or a stoppage over Anthony Smith, it's only going to raise his profile even more.
But yeah, I believe he can get the stoppage over Smith, because obviously we've seen Smith's last 3. I can't remember who Smith fought last time out where he won, but
I think it was Devin Clark, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it may have been. Obviously, before that, I thought Alexander Rakic was dominated for what was it 5? Was it 5 rounds or was it 3? It was one of them.
It was 3 rounds.
3 round fight, and then obviously got TKO'd by Glover.
Yeah, he got battered in that fight, didn't he?
Yeah. If we see the Smith that turned up against Glover and Rakic, I believe we are going to see a Jimmy Crute stoppage.
Yeah.
The power that Jimmy Crute has in them hands is, it's quite a lot. So I don't know, because I don't know how Anthony Smith's going to turn out. Yeah, he got the win against Devin Clark, like you say, but it just depends how Smith approaches. If Smith approaches this fight how he fought, I'm trying to think his last really, really good performance. Say he fights like he did against Gustafsson, I believe that he could get the winner. I think this is whoever turns up. I believe both guys could beat each other. So I'm going to go for a Crute stoppage. Next fight on the card is... Oh, shit.
Is it Weidman versus Hall?
Yeah,
is that on the main card?
I thought that was the next pay-per-view, but you're right, it is 2-6-1, that one. Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, obviously, they fought back on the local scene, and I believe Weidman got the win on that occasion. We've just seen Chris Weidman come back on the win column, and we've also seen Uriah Hall just take out a legend in Anderson Silva. And this fight, it's similar to the Jimmy Crute one, but I'm not as intrigued. Whoever turns up is going to take this. Because Chris Weidman, very good guy in terms of fighting in the cage. If he turns up, yeah, he's gonna get the win. But if Uriah Hall turns up, he could be knocking Chris Weidman out. But I don't know what to make of this fight. What do you think?
I totally agree. If he approaches the fight, Chris Weidman, the way he did against Amari Akhmedov, I believe that was his last win, then he could get the job done. I think he's got to implement his wrestling a bit more, Chris Weidman, against Uriah Hall, because obviously you touched upon it there. He stopped Anderson Silva in the third or fourth round, I think, a couple of months ago. So if we see Chris Weidman utilise his wrestling ability and frustrate Hall for 15 minutes, then maybe he'll get like a comfortable decision victory. But on the feet, does Weidman still possess that knockout power anymore? I don't know. I genuinely think on the feet, maybe Hall might just have the edge. But I don't know. If Weidman utilises his wrestling and sort of sticks to that plan A, I think he can get the job done. But it's too soon for me to give a prediction. I know it's this weekend, but I've probably got to look a bit more into it. But I think maybe Weidman via decision. But I'm so torn, because there's arguments that can be made whereby both fighters can come out with the win. Obviously, with Hall potentially via stoppage and Weidman via decision. So it's probably going to be one of those pick and fights, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know how each guy's going to turn up, but like you said, if Weidman implements his wrestling in this fight, I believe he will win. I don't think we're going to see a finish in this one. It's either Weidman's going to get pieced up on the feet, or Uriah Hall's going to get dominated on the ground, I think. So in that aspect, I'm going to go for a Weidman via a decision. But then the next fight, Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas.
It's Valentina, isn't it?
Oh, is it Valentina? Oh,
I know it's weird. Because I know for a fact that Rose Namajunas Weili is the co-main, but
all right, we'll talk about Valentina. I thought Valentina was
because they're a high weight class, the flyweight. So I thought they would have done it like that, high flyweight, then short. But I don't know.
Guess not. Well, Valentina Shevchenko, Jessica Andrade, obviously,
That's a very good fight.
Very good fight, but I don't see anyone beating Valentina.
Not anytime soon. I mean, with Valentina, she obviously had her struggles at bantamweight where she just could not get that win over Amanda Nunes, and all of a sudden they decided to like form this 125-pound flyweight division, and ever since Valentina, she moved back down, and she's just flourished ever since, and she's literally just ragdolled and torn every single opponent apart, and she's made it look so easy. But Jessica Andrade is obviously no joke. She will be probably Valentina's hardest opponent in a long, long time. Like she has that knockout power. She's obviously beaten a lot of high contenders at 115. I think I could be wrong, but she's definitely fought either flyweight or bantamweight before. So, I think on a
She was champ, wasn't she? Or am I thinking of someone else?
She was champ. She beat Rose Namajunas.
Beat Rose and then lost against Weili.
Lost to Weili, yeah. So she's been a champion, but I think she's fought at higher weight classes as well. But she moved up. She looked good against, was it Chukagian on her debut, whereby she finished it in the first round.
May have been, yeah.
And rightly so. I mean, I know this was her first fight at flyweight, but you look at all the opponents. That's the fight to make, because Jessica Andrade is a high-profile name in the women's sport. And Dana White must have thought, you know what? Out of all the opponents in that flyweight division, Jessica Andrade is going to provide Valentina with a lot of problems. And I think it really will be a tough test for Valentina. But if she's a natural 125er, and Jessica Andrade she's a very small opponent. So I think if Valentina sort of fights her fight and controls the fight and controls the proceedings, then I genuinely think she will get the job done, and she will probably finish Jessica Andrade. But it will be tough, because Jessica Andrade does have that power. Whether she has the power or enough power to knock out Valentina remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think obviously Valentina's most difficult fight so far since the Nunes fights may have been.
You could argue young Jacek, maybe Joanna, but even then, I think she's just sort of
obviously we've seen in Valentina's last fight it was Jessica Maia, I believe. Obviously, she lost the round, and Jennifer Maia, sorry. She lost a round in that, and I've seen a lot of people thinking, "Oh, might be a weakness," but it's Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah.
I think she may have just been taking a round off or whatever, just to. I don't know, but I don't see anyone beating her. No disrespect to Andrade, but I don't see her defeating Valentina. But I don't see Valentina getting the finish. I believe it's going to be a very dominant decision on Valentina's half.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, I think it'll either be a late stoppage or a comfortable decision, like you said. I mean, because she's a natural 125, she obviously does have the ability to put Jessica Andrade away, but I know she got knocked out in the first round by Weili Zhang, but it does take a fair do to put a girl like Jessica Andrade away.
Oh, 100%. Next fight, obviously, Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas. Now we're
That's
on.
the fight I'm most looking forward to, believe it or not.
Oh yeah. I'll give my thoughts on the Usman Masvidal fight soon, but
yeah,
I don't know what to do about this, because I put a few polls on my Instagram for the main card for this, and this was the fight closest. I put on, obviously, each fight. The two closest fights were Hall and Weidman, and then all the first three fights. No, fucking hell, I keep getting wrong here. The co-main and the first two fights were the closest. Valentina had all the votes, and Andrade had none. So did Usman when I did the polls for them. But this fight, I don't know what to think. I think it depends how Rose is handling it mentally leading into the fight. Just because obviously we've seen if a fighter's not mentally ready, they're not going to be. They may be physically ready, but they're not going to be ready to throw down. So it all depends how Rose is during this camp. But I'm gonna get your thoughts on it, because
throw me under the bus again.
I have no clue, just because this is 50-50 in my opinion.
Oh yeah, totally. I think this is another pick and fight as well. You saw in the young Jacek fight, it was the best fight in women's mixed martial arts history. I mean, it was just back and forth, non-stop action, and we enjoyed it. It was better than the main event between I think it was Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. So you look at Rose Namajunas, obviously she's coached by Trevor Whitman, and the work he's done over the past 2-3 years is nothing short of spectacular. Trevor Whitman is probably one of the best coaches in MMA. You look at what he's done to Justin Gaethje and recently Kamaru Usman. What we've seen a different sort of style and change in approach with Kamaru Usman in his last fights. You look at the fight with Gilbert Burns, he sort of utilised that jab a bit more, and then he managed to put Gilbert Burns away with that brutal jab. And he's just improved his stand-up game in recent times, because I think Trevor Whitman, when he looked at Kamaru Usman, he knew the knockout power was there. He just needed to work on it and sort of develop it, and and then went from there. And obviously got the stoppage against Gilbert Burns. And look at what he's done with Justin Gaethje. He's made them a champion at albeit an interim belt. And obviously, he unfortunately lost via admission due to the choke against Khabib. Yeah. But ever leading up to that fight, he was just on an absolute tear, because the 2 defeats to Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, he learned a lot from that fight, and he went back to the training facilities, and Trevor Whitman sort of put him aside and just said, look, we're going to develop your game plan and we're going to turn you into a world champion. I know your mindset is to put on a show and a spectacle for the fans, but we need to turn you into a proper mixed martial artist. And then ever since then, he's been on an absolute tear. And that Tony Ferguson fight, oh my days, that was probably one of the best individual performances I've ever seen in a long time. So Trevor Whitman deserves a lot of praise. And with Rose Namajunas, I truly believe in these sort of high-profile fights, that's when we see sort of Trevor Whitman shine, and that's when we see him get the best out of his athletes and his students, if you will. And I genuinely believe this fight is just going to be like the Young Jacek fight. It's just going to be non-stop action, back and forth. It's going to be another pick and fight. I genuinely think, like you said, I saw Rose Namajunas. She just sort of looked defeated mentally in recent years, and she just really did not want to fight and get into that type of picture again. But that Jessica Andrade win, the rematch, was impressive. I think in the 3rd round, she might have lost that round just because she was definitely tuning up, and she might have taken the foot off the gas a little bit, and she looked a bit tired. But the first 2 rounds, my word, was she dominant. She looked like a rejuvenated Rose Namajunas. I thoroughly enjoyed her performance. It was a great technical performance, and she clipped Andrade a few times. So if we could see that against Zhang Weili, you never know, she could get the job done. But I think mentally she needs to be spot on, because if you're not there with Weili Zhang, then she will put you away, and she will take advantage of your sort of mental demise in that fight. So if Rose Namajunas isn't careful, she could get torn apart. But if she's mentally focused and she's prepared fully for that fight, I genuinely believe that she can get the job done. But I think this one will go to the decision, and it'll be a banging fight. So a win-win for us.
Yeah, it'll be better than Weili and Young Jacek.
Oh, that's going to take some doing. I don't think so. It'll probably be close, but no, nothing. I don't think anything's going to top Young Jacek versus Zhang Weili.
No, definitely not. You made every point I was going to make. Obviously, Rose needs to be banged on in the mental aspect, as we've seen in all of our interviews when we've asked fighters, is it mental or physical, which is the most important attribute. 9 times out of 10, they'll tell us it's the mental attributes that you need, not instead, but more than the physical. And as we've seen with Rose, she has struggled at times. So I hope she is at her best, because then, like you said, it's going to be a banging fight. But Weili is going to come away with a win, I think. I don't know if I'll get slaughtered for that, because I know a lot of people are rooting for Rose, but I'm going to go Weili Zhang decision.
It's certainly tough. It really is tough. It's just, like I said, it's one of them pick and fights. It's just too close to call. And I'm a big fan of Rose Namajunas. She's probably one of the best shortweight fighters of all time on her day. But Zhang Weili is just a different kettle of fish. I mean, on her day, she's honestly sensational. She hasn't lost since it's either her 1st or 2nd fight in mixed martial arts. And she's on God knows how much of a win streak. So the momentum is obviously going to favour her. But after that war with Young Jacek, how's Zhang Weili going to feel mentally? Because Rose Namajunas is another fighter who's definitely going to bring it and not stop until she gets the job done. Like if you're going to get Rose Namajunas away, you're literally going to have to kill her, because she's going to be piling the pressure non-stop. And I think we talked about, like you said, alluded to earlier, you talk about the mental aspect in MMA. You need to be mentally stronger than ever in the championship rounds, because if you don't have that championship mentality in the fourth and the fifth round, that's where fights can be won and lost.
100%. Right, let's move on to the main event. Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal 2. I think I speak for a lot of people. I don't know your opinions exactly, but I think we're going to see a repeat. I hope not. I'd like to see a competitive fight. I'd like to see Usman win because I'm a huge fan of Usman, but I see Usman ragdolling for 5 rounds.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know Masvidal took it on 6 days' notice last year, and you've got to give him all the plaudits. Did fantastic business for pay-per-view, but I think the only reason why they made the rematch is because Dana White probably thought, this is a guaranteed $1 million pay-per-view buyout, and I don't think that'll be the case. I think it'll do not a lot worse, a bit worse than the first fight.
800, 900K.
Yeah, it's just a sort of standard for a championship fight. I know there's 3 title fights on the line, and there's a 15K in the ViStar Memorial Arena, so it's great to have the fans back in full capacity. I'm thoroughly looking forward to how they approach that and what precautions they're taking in place with the UFC. But with regards to the fight, I mean, I think I watched Embedded yesterday, and Trevor Whitman said we're going to sort of approach it differently compared to the first fight with Masvidal. I'm very much looking forward. Sorry?
You think he'll try and stand and strike with Masvidal?
Yes and no. I think if Jorge Masvidal, because Gilbert Burns sort of rocked him in the first round, didn't he? So, and then I know Kamaru Usman took over from then on in, but I think if he stands and trades with Masvidal, he could get slapped. So I think he's got to be a bit cautious going into that fight. But I'm all for a stand-up battle between Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal because, like I said, ever since he sort of went to Trevor Whitman's gym, he's improved his striking game. And I know his wrestling background was already strong prior to that, but it's his striking game that's improved over the last year or so. So if he wants to stand and trade with Masvidal, I'm all for it because it genuinely makes it all worthwhile and more of an entertainment fight for fans. And maybe that's what they want. This is the first fight in a long time, in over a year, since we've had a full sold-out capacity arena. And maybe they just want to put on a banger fight for the fans. But Jorge Masvidal's obviously been in these streets fights. He's had a lot more career professional bouts than Kamaru Usman, so he knows when the going gets tough, Jorge Masvidal tends to shine and sort of rises above this adversity and gets through it. And I genuinely think if Kamaru Usman wants to stand and trade, it really will be tough. But I don't know. I just want to see a cracking performance. I think Kamaru Usman will win, but as much as from a technical standpoint, the wrestling approach is the way to go for Kamaru Usman because he's just going to take him down and frustrate Masvidal for 4 or 5 rounds. We just want to see an entertaining fight. And if we get an entertaining fight, with like a lot of wrestling in between, so be it. I just want to see a good main event because, like I said, it's the first fight since last year whereby they've had a full sold-out arena. So they're going to want to put on a show for the fans without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I believe this may be Masvidal's 50th fight, I believe, or something in that ballpark. But yeah, like you say, we just want to see an entertaining fight. I want to see Usman win. I used to be a big fan of, I am a big fan of Masvidal, but I'm just a huge fan of Usman.
I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest with you.
I am, but I've lost a bit of respect as such just because I believe what Usman's been saying. He had a belt in his. I don't think he was ducking Usman at all, but he had the built-in excuse. And do I believe Masvidal deserves this fight? No, not at all right now. If anyone, give it to Colby. As much as he's a so-and-so at times, I'm a big fan of Colby, but as much as he is a so-and-so at times, he deserves the fight more than Masvidal, obviously. Beat Woodley. Yeah, he's only fought once, but he beat Woodley. Masvidal's not fought at all. I would say give it to Edwards, but obviously that's where Bilal ended up in no contest. If he won that in good fashion, yeah, I would have said give him the fight. But I say, off topic on Usman Masvidal a second. Say Edwards gets the win against Diaz. Throw Edwards and Colby in there. The winner fights the winner of this fight. I believe that's the way to go.
I just don't think Kobe will buy that. I really don't think he'll want it. Like he's literally come out and said recently, belt or nothing. I can wait for as long as I want. I'm not going to fight again. And I'm all for that. I genuinely think that Kobe Covington should fight once more, but I know he's just not going to.
Question from Leo: who do you think gives the biggest threat to Usman, James? I'll say mine after.
Kobe Covington, easily. I think on the feet stand-up-wise, obviously Thompson's a shout, but he's got to get through Gilbert Burns first. But personally, right now, Kobe Covington, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, it was an going into the fight with Usman, the first fight. It was everyone thought, they're all Division 1 wrestlers. It's going to be a non-stop sort of battle on the mat, and who's wrestling and who's grappling whose ground game is going to come out on top. It's literally just a stand-up battle for 5 minutes, and I enjoyed that battle because they were genuinely swinging for the bleachers. They were throwing left, right, and centre, and they planned on knocking each other out. And I think going into that fight, going into the fourth, fifth round, it was so tight. I think some people had it 2-2. Someone had it someone had it in favour of Usman just, and then someone even gave it to Kobe Covington, and it was so torn for the final fight, fifth round, and eventually we all know what happened. Kamaru Usman managed to get the job done, but Kamaru Usman's sort of championship mentality was really tested against Kobe Covington. He brung it right from the get-go, and personally, I just think the only top guy that possesses a real threat to Kamaru Usman's belt is Kobe Covington, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh yeah, I totally believe Kobe as well. Going back to the Masvidal fight, I'm just going to give a prediction because I know we've got very strong opinions next. I'm gonna say Usman decision. Like I said, I do believe it's going to be Usman ragdolling him again for 5 rounds, but if not, and it's a very close stand-up battle, I'm all for it. I just hope to see Usman get the win. I believe, did he equal or beat GSP's record last time?
Beat it, I think.
He beat it. Yeah, I believe. Actually, here's a question for you, and I think I may get set. Prime GSP or Usman now?
Don't. I don't want to talk about that.
People are going to hate me. I'm saying Usman.
I've got to back GSP.
I think it.
Sorry?
It'd be a very good fight, but I've got to back Usman.
I think Kamaru Usman deserves a lot of respect. I think no one gave him the plaudits and the respect he deserves until the Gilbert Burns fight, really. I thought I started to give him respect after the Kobe Covington fight. I thought with Tyron Woodley, I was like, I know he dominated him for 5 rounds, but I just was not convinced. But he showed the world his sort of dominance and his championship mentality, and his, how much he cared about his welterweight legacy when he went out there and stopped Kobe Covington. But I think it took the fans, or the majority of the fans, a little bit longer just to put some respect in Kamaru Usman's name. And I think slowly but surely he's cleaning up that welterweight division. You just got to put some respect into his name now. He's one of the more, personally, I think we discussed this recently, he's probably one of the more active, or the most active champion right now, because most champions, they tend to fight once, maybe twice a year. Kamaru Usman's fighting 2 or 3 times a year, and I've got to respect that highly because it just shows. Sorry?
This is Usman's second fight in 2021?
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if he fights again this year.
Yeah. Probably fight once.
Yeah, and he genuinely cares about his legacy, and he genuinely wants to sort of clean off that welterweight division and go through it one by one. And I love those sort of fighters because they're the ones that deserve to be in the pound-for-pound GOAT list. They're the ones who deserve all the plaudits. They're the one who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And Kamaru Usman's, that fighter, and if he can get a win against Jorge Masvidal, and then say that he gets a win over Covington again, Leon Edwards, he's definitely one of the best welterweights in history. I think a couple more fights, then you could sort of say he's better than GSP, but prime GSP, Kamaru Usman, it's just a good fight nonetheless. But I've obviously got back GSP because he was just simply unstoppable.
Right, next up. Right,
here we go.
I'm going to try and keep this PG, but Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur, you're a fucking disgrace to football right now. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Even if the Super League doesn't go ahead, all of you, I'm a United fan myself, all of you deserve to be relegated for even considering it. You're a disgrace to football at the moment. I'm trying to keep it PG, but the past 24, 48 hours, what we've been seeing of this, it's a fucking shambles. Obviously, the comments coming out from presidents, obviously, the Juventus chairman or president, whatever he was, coming out a couple of days ago, originally saying to the UEFA, nothing's happening. Same with Ed Woodward, saying nothing's happening. Then what? Monday morning, they resign.
They always have these,
UEFA. How can you actually do this to the fans? Not even the fans. You're selling the game out for money. Yes, I was saying to James off camera, a big objective would be to earn money as a club and as an investor. The game was built on fans being in love with the game, and when you're charging however much for ticket prices, however, that's going to come with being in the top league. But then selling out for this European Super League, I seen an interview, I can't remember who it was with, but the only people that I think may be really up for this in terms of fans are the Americans, because apparently with this, I don't know the ins and outs, so I won't go as in depth as I want to, because I don't want to say what I don't actually know. But apparently the games may be scattered across the world, and some may be in America. Yeah, you won't get 75,000 at Old Trafford if United are at home in the Super League, because the fans will boycott it. You'll get 10,000 if that, I think. The only place for the English clubs that you'd sell out is in the States, because you'd easily get 100,000 Americans in a stadium just because they don't get the chance to watch the likes of Man United, Man City. But again, you're a fucking disgrace to football. James, let loose, man.
So Sunday night, I think that was when it sort of burst onto the social media scene. I think it was around 11 o'clock midnight, prime time America time, just to sort of throw that out there. It was around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock American time. I think I first saw it on Twitter. I laughed it off. I genuinely thought, no chance. And then I went home. I woke up the next day, and I thought, I woke up to these 6 statements from the 6 Premier League clubs, the top dogs, the Chelsea, Manchester City, United, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Liverpool. And I thought, I was embarrassed. I literally am embarrassed to sort of represent and wear my club shirt and represent my club and my team going forward. It's an embarrassment. You look at the Glazers, the Henry, Levy, Mercer, Abramovich, and Stan Kroenke. They need to hang their heads in shame right now for even considering it, because they're just thinking of new ways to sort of line their pockets and thinking of new ways to get more money into their pockets. I don't know how they can, do that. They're walking behind the fans. You'll never walk alone. That's the biggest load of tosh I've ever heard. Because I can guarantee you for a fact, if Jurgen Klopp walks tomorrow, because I know he's spoken very, very discreetly about this, and he's very against this sort of European Super League. If the European Super League gets formed tomorrow, he will walk Liverpool. And mark my words, the FSG at Liverpool, they will be gone within the week. Sorry?
I can't remember who said it, but I remember seeing that this morning. Liverpool, obviously the fans are... Liverpool, as much as I don't like them, do have one of the best fan bases in the league. If Klopp walks because of this, their owners are getting run out, because they'll take Anfield, they'll take it all. They will boycott everything, and them owners will be gone. I guarantee.
They will force FSG out. I can guarantee you that within the week. I can guarantee that without a shadow of a doubt, because Jurgen Klopp is sort of transform them from that sort of Europa League challenging type team to back in the good old days when the 80s, where they were challenging for league titles, they were winning league titles, winning Champions League. They've won the league this last season. They won the Champions League the year before. They're in the Champions League they got knocked out recently, but they performed exceptionally well in recent times, and that's all down to Jurgen Klopp's work ethic and his work ethos. He deserves the plaudits, and I guarantee you, if he walks tomorrow, because I know he will walk if the European Super League comes into fruition, they will force FSG out. And as far as I'm concerned with Chelsea Football Club, I'm absolutely embarrassed to be a Chelsea fan right now. I kid you not. I know fans are going to boycott the game tonight, but you look at football in total, it's been going on. Our teams have been formed for 100 plus years now. It was built off of these working class individuals who just had a real love for the game, and it's only grown since, I think, for the past 15 years, since obviously you look at Roman Abramovich coming in and Sheikh Mansour coming in to Manchester City. The game sort of turned on its side a little bit. It's sort of transitioned into that money state, if you will. And if the European Super League comes into fruition, it's just a franchise league. And, forget all the love and the enjoyment for the game, because that's just gone out the window. They're thinking of new ways in which they can line up their pockets, as I alluded to earlier. And the format of the European Super League is just a disgrace. I mean, they're having 2 groups of 10 and then doing like some sort of knockout tournament. And as you said there, the Juventus chairman, who was also one of the top dogs at UEFA, spoke to the UEFA chairman last weekend and said that we're going to think of new ways in which we can improve the Champions League and get more attention.
It was supposed to be 36 teams.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to improve the Champions League either way, which, again, that's another topic for another day. But then the next day, he resigns from the ECA and just sort of goes behind UEFA's back, which is an absolute disgrace. I mean, he's just sort of ratted them out completely and gone behind everything. If this comes into fruition, it goes against the footballing game. It goes against football as a sport. Gone are the days where you go to the game and the players and the club had that, and even the owners had that strong connection with the fans. And now going forward in 5 or 10 years' time, it's all about money, money, money. The board have only got one goal, and that's to sort of gain new money and gain sort of new attention to their club, and just try and find new ways in which they can improve their marketability, and maybe not even the clubs, just to sort of improve their marketability. I mean, I'm embarrassed that Roman Abramovich has agreed to this. I'm ashamed that these other sort of individuals have agreed or even considered it. And I genuinely believe if it does come into fruition, we deserve the harshest of punishments. We deserve the relegations. We deserve point deductions. We deserve an extortionate fine. I mean, I'm just absolutely flabbergasted. I genuinely laughed it off when I saw it on Sunday night. I was just like, what a load of rubbish. And then it just exploded from then on in. Now is the time for players, for coaching staff, for fans, regardless of, you put rivalry aside with this is war. And personally, I know this sounds crazy, but this is a war between the footballing fans and the footballing community and the sort of corrupt top dogs upstairs, because this is not on. We need to form together like never before and stop this from happening, because I think there are definitely people out there who think this is a done deal. But I can guarantee you, if we get together, we can definitely stop this, because I know Chelsea fans are going up to the game today and sort of protesting outside. And I watched the Liverpool game yesterday. I saw James Milner, and Thomas Tuchel and James Milner were the first, and Jurgen Klopp were the first sort of individuals since the sort of formation or the proposition of the European Super League to speak out, because I know Thomas Tuchel had a press conference yesterday, and Jurgen Klopp and James Milner obviously had their media duties before and after the game. And it's just ruining football. And I think now the players, they're not responsible, but they sort of need to, now's the time where the players, if they truly believe and care about the progression of the beautiful game, they need to come out on social media and they need to stand together and form an alliance to sort of put this to bed and to sort of get rid of this. Because the only way in which it can be stopped is if the fans and the players speak up. If the players are very vocal on social media, it can be stopped, because we can sort of form an alliance and work with the government and put this to bed. Because I know James Milner, I saw a couple of tweets from James Milner yesterday speaking about, look, we are a couple of points away from qualifying from the Champions League, and put that all in capitals. And that's just the start. I think if we can sort of go further and take it further, it can be stopped. But I'm just absolutely ashamed by my football club. I'm absolutely embarrassed to be a Chelsea fan right now. I genuinely think we can stop this from happening, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I genuinely feel the only reason why this came into fruition or came into discussion is to benefit Barcelona and Real Madrid, because Florentino Perez, the Real Madrid director chairman, came out and said yesterday, kids between 16 and 24-year-olds, they just have no interest in the game. La-di-da-di-da, the Champions League is dying, blah, blah, blah. And just basically slagged it off and said, look, this European Super League is going to be the league going forward for all the sporting fans in the world to enjoy. You look at the Spanish league right now. Barcelona are in €1 million debt. Real Madrid, they're in debt. They used to get money off of the Spanish government, but now look at them. They're really desperate for money right now, Real Madrid. And the only reason why this sort of came into fruition is because of the proposition with the European Super League and with regards to money. And actually, there's talk like 350 million and a space of 3.5 billion over 23 years. Real Madrid and Barcelona are laughing. That's money. But I can guarantee you tomorrow, if Lionel Messi comes out and says, I'm not for this, if the European Super League gets formed tomorrow, Lionel Messi says something and is completely against it, the rest will crumble. And I think it will take the likes of Chelsea, who were reluctant to join, but they did, and Manchester City, and maybe a Liverpool or an Arsenal. It will take 3 Premier League teams, 3 of the big 6, before the likes of Madrid, Inter Milan, AC Milan all turn their back and say, look, we don't want this. It's got to be 3 top clubs in England to turn their back on the competition, and everyone else will fall. Everyone else will turn, and everyone else will be in their lines and thinking, you know what, I do not want to be a part of this. It's got to take these 3 clubs or 3 big clubs to turn their back and say, we're not for this. We want out. Because if they carry on, it's just going to ruin football. And I think it's going to take these big names, as I said there, Lionel Messi, if he comes out tomorrow or comes out in the near future and says, look, I don't want to be a part of this, Barcelona are going to think, Christ, we need to do something. We need to stop this, because Lionel Messi is our most valuable player in the history of this in our club. And if he's against it, we've got to be against it, because we need to do whatever it takes to keep Lionel Messi. So I think if these players and these managers and these sort of individuals speak up, it can be sorted. And like I said, I think fans need to come together, because I'm embarrassed to be a football fan right now, and I can guarantee you, if it forms tomorrow, I will not be watching it. I will stay as far away as possible, and fans will go to games and boycott them. They might not even go to games. They will protest and protest and protest until this is stopped, because I'm absolutely embarrassed to be a football fan right now and to be a Chelsea fan right now, because this isn't football. Like I said, gone are the days where clubs were built off of these passionate working class people, and it was such a closely knit community. And now we're just sort of witnessing money taking over. This is a competition based on greed, and I'm completely against it. And I'm absolutely embarrassed to call myself a Chelsea Football Club fan right now. And I need more clarity going forward. I need to understand what's going to be done. I need this week I need more from the European Super League and the committee and the chairmen to sort of give their proposition, and then I can make further judgments. But again, like I said, this isn't football, and I sort of echo everything that Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville said yesterday. They put on a fantastic TV show yesterday, and it was their sort of message to the world, whereby if we come together, we can fix this. But right now, I mean, make the note of the date yesterday, 19th of April, 2021, the day football died, because I'm completely against this. And I mean, you look at VAR this season, I genuinely thought it would be hard and it would be tough to top something whereby you hated a topic more than VAR. And then the European Super League came into fruition and came into proposition. And if this comes to fruition, as I've said so many times in the past, like 5-10 minutes, I will refuse to watch football. I will refuse to go to games, because this isn't football. This is just ways in which the fans, or sorry, not the fans, the board and the people upstairs can sort of line their pockets. And I want more from the FSG. I want more from Daniel Levy. I want more from Mansour. I want more information from Abramovich. I want them to come out and personally explain why they're all for this going forward. Because if they're just sort of going to sit back in their yachts and in their private mansions and laugh and sort of run to the bank and cash in on their millions, then you are a disgrace. You deserve to be forced out of the clubs, because this is just not football. You are ruining and you are taking away and you are sort of going against what football is about, because we are passionate fans, and there's just sort of been this huge sort of global community ever since this footballing era began, way back in the 20th and the 19th and the 20th century. And what are you going to benefit going forward? I mean, the fans are football. The footballing fans are life. They are everything. Until a year ago, it just shows that in their eyes, the board's eyes, fans means nothing. It's just ways in which they can get more money to the club, and they're thinking, you know what, we're doing this for the club. We care about the progression. No, you don't. You're caring about how much money you can make within X and Y amount of years' time. You're caring about how big of a paycheck you can get within the next week or so. You're caring about how how many more sort of developments we can get with this European Super League. And I've got to give praises to the likes of Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain, FC Porto, Benfica, because they've exclusively and publicly turned their back on the league and said, we do not want to be a part of this. The German Bundesliga deserve a lot of praise because their sort of structure is completely against the European Super League. 50% of their clubs are run by fans. And you can sort of show if the fans take control and take charge, they can change this, because you look at Bayern Munich and Dortmund, their 50% fans have said, no, we don't want this. We're speaking on our whole community. We're speaking on our fan base. We do not want to be part of such a corrupt league. And I know UEFA have threatened to say, look, if you join the European Super League, we're not going to let you play in the US. They can't do that, but it's a good threat. And going forward, I genuinely believe that if we come together, we can stop this. But, right now, this morning, I'm embarrassed to be a footballing fan, because I genuinely, this season means nothing now. If this comes into fruition tomorrow and next season we're going to have a European Super League, what's the point? What's the point in going forward for the rest of the season? It means nothing. And I genuinely feel for the Premier League clubs, because they're right within, they're well within their rights to sort of kick the top six out of the league. I know it's going to have huge implications going forward for these other 14 clubs. So be it. I know the Sky and the Premier League are going to lose a lot of money, but it just takes away that enjoyment from the game. I mean, West Ham and Leicester, they're in the Champions League spot. This is the best run they've had, and West Ham in particular, this is the best run they've had within their club's history. They're in the Champions League, and all for what? What does it mean if the European Super League comes into fruition? It means absolutely nothing if it comes into fruition. It means this season was a complete write-off, and West Ham's progression and their sort of heroics this season have been all for nothing, and it's an absolute shame. I mean, we had this magic of the Premier League and of this footballing period over these last 100 years, but that's just going to go out the window. I mean, European Super League, Manchester United, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea 2, West Brom 5, Manchester United 1, Sheffield United 2, Fulham held Arsenal to a draw last weekend at the Emirates, and Fulham, that's okay. European Super League, Liverpool 1, Leeds 1 yesterday. European Super League, where the best vie for the best sort of status in the world, they're picking up defeats, and they're dropping points to teams in the fighting for relegation. They're fighting for survival, and they're fighting for safety. This is why we love the game, because everything is just so unpredictable in football. You just genuinely do not know. I mean, look at the start of the season. The top four race was wide open from 2nd to 10th. And I know that sort of died down a bit recently, but you look at Leicester when they won the league title in 15-16. This is why we love football. This is why we go to games. This is why we pay our hard-earned cash to go to games and expect the unexpected and enjoy it. We come together. We form this sort of closely knit friendships with the fans. We care. And I genuinely believe that we've got to get together on social media, because there's been a huge backlash and there's been this huge uproar on social media. And I've said this time and time again in the past 10 minutes, I'm absolutely embarrassed by our boards, and FSG, Abramovich, Mansour, Conke, what have you, they deserve to hang their heads in shame right now, because this isn't football. This is just greed. This is money. This is wealth in which they can benefit from. And this is just disgusting. Footballing's dead. And as I said, gone are the days whereby these working class individuals truly go and care about their clubs week in, week out, form this alliance with their fans and go to games and enjoy it. Those days are gone. Now, this is just a competition based on greed and wealth and just sheer corruption. I'm not all for it. I'm just absolutely disgusted being a Chelsea fan right now. I know you're a United fan, and it's just the sort of, these are the days where we've got to form a connection and form an alliance. The Chelseas, the Uniteds, and Tottenhams, and the fans. Because I've seen the supporters trust and the supporters group come out and completely slaughter this European Super League, this proposition, and rightly so. We need to take this further. We need to take this even further, because I know Boris Johnson has come out and gone against this idea of the European Super League, because the Premier League will lose its pulling power if the European Super League comes into fruition, because all the money is going to be invested in there. And I totally agree with you. I genuinely think, with regards to the potential venues, the majority of it, say if the first group stage was in England or across Europe playing their respective teams, the knockout stages, I genuinely can see it being in America. I think someone brought a point last night. One of my friends said there's 2 or 3 spaces remaining. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 2 big American clubs, if they fill it. And if it's like, say for example, LA Galaxy or Inter Miami, for example, if they fill the club, then it's just sort of, and it sort of speaks for itself really. And fans are going to lose their temper. They are going to lose it big time if Americans sort of come into the picture, because I know when it came into fruition and when it came and burst onto the social media scene, it was prime time in America. It was like 5-6 o'clock in America. And I genuinely, I'm all for sort of improving the game, but this is not how you do it. This is, the Americans have got to sort of stay out of this. I do not want to have Chelsea, my football club, playing in America. I know there's fans that haven't seen, the likes of Chelsea, Real Madrid, United, Liverpool play. I get that. I know it's heartbreaking. You'll do anything to see your team, but this is not the way to do it, by basing it off of greed and sort of thinking 100k stadiums, we're going to get such amount of money, millions amount of money just for hosting Chelsea versus Real Madrid in the US and in the States and having the final in the States. That's just not the way to go forward, because it just sort of shows how much money has been a big factor within these last 10-15 years, and it's only going to get worse. And I'm sick to death of this proposition of the European Super League. And Florentino Perez, he's going to have so many. He is going to have. He has had so many people turn on him recently. The Real Madrid fans, they've got to be turning on Florentino Perez. They've got to try and force him out, because I know Real Madrid and Barcelona are in debt and they need the money, but this isn't the way to get money. And Florentino Perez deserves every sort of bad, anything bad that happens to him in the upcoming future, he deserves, because his comments last night were disgusting. They were pathetic. They were cowardly. And I'm genuinely completely against this. I'm just embarrassed and ashamed to be a football fan right now.
100%. Obviously, like you were saying, this game was built on the love and support that the working man had for his club. Where the fuck is it all gone? I said before I'm going to try to keep it PG, but no, obviously, I doubt bloody Florentino Perez is going to see this, but the message is clear from everyone. Boycott what you can. Protest outside your stadiums. Protest. We need to get these people out of our clubs. Like you say, Abramovich, the Glazers, Kroenke. These people in the clubs, they need gone. Look what they're doing to the game. The game is built on the support that fans have. How are you going to be able to do that when you're playing thousands of miles across the world? How? Say even if it's not in America, say it is all around Europe. Even so, the game was built from the support. You're selling out for money. Yes, obviously you're going to want to make a lot of money, but you're selling out. And I'm going to keep it short and simple. From a message from a United fan to the Glazers, you've been hearing it for years. Get the fuck out of our club. Just get out. And I can guarantee, like we was talking about Liverpool, if Jurgen Klopp walked, their owners are going to be run out within the week. And I hope United fans, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, if that is the case, I hope that they can all do the same. As much as rivalries are at the moment, well, not at the moment in particular, but as big as rivalries are in football, the fans of these 6 clubs need to come together and get these people out of our clubs. We can't be just sitting back and be like, oh yeah, we'll just watch it because it's United playing or because it's Chelsea or City or Liverpool. We can't be letting this happen. I guarantee if this happens and European Super League is confirmed, I hope the Manchester United fans are going to be protesting outside Old Trafford. City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, I hope they are. And it's just heartbreaking to see football's gone. Like you said before, 19th of April 2021, the day football died. And I can guarantee these people will be run out of our clubs sooner or later if the European Super League is confirmed. And I just hope as many United fans as possible show up outside Old Trafford to make a noise. I can guarantee myself will be there raising the issues that we've all got. And I hope, like yourself for Chelsea, everyone for their supported clubs can show outside the stadiums, can show everywhere just to raise noise about this. And it's just, like I said, it's heartbreaking to see football's died. 19th of April, rest in peace, football. But fucking hell, there's not much. They probably may not listen to us, but like I said, Glazers, get the fuck out of our club. Ed Woodward, get gone. Just leave. It's not football anymore. It's business, and that's what's heartbreaking to see. But I'm going to keep it there before I go to un-PG. I've kept it as PG as possible, but yeah, final message, you guys get the fuck out of our clubs. But yeah, let's end the rants on there. I think we've had a decent episode there, James. Cheers for joining again.
Take care, mate.
Take care, guys. We'll have 1 or 2 more episodes coming this week and more preview shows coming out in the next few weeks/months. So take care, everyone.